Welcome to another episode of Social Sessions, where we engage in deep conversations that explore the human psyche and societal issues that shape our world. I'm thrilled to have Kris MacPherson, the founder of Tinpail TV, with us today. Kris's journey from a tumultuous upbringing to earning a psychology degree after navigating the challenges of prison gives him a unique perspective on our topic today. In this episode, we're delving into the intricate realm of prison psychology. Kris will share his insights on the psychological dynamics of prison life, including ego conflicts, bullying, and underlying reasons behind prisoner and staff behaviours. His experiences and expertise offer a compelling glimpse into a world often misunderstood and rarely explored. So, welcome to Social Sessions, Kris. It's great to have you, the founder of Tinpail TV, and may I say a dear friend from the education department in Adwell.
Yep.
Great to have you. So, I'm just going to kind of take you back just quickly over and we'll run out of your childhood and stuff like that. So, what was it like growing up? I know you were kind of Glasgow based.
Basically, the first kind of early years in my life were kind of tranquil and stable. I lived with my dad and his partner until they ended up splitting up when I was like maybe 6, 7. My dad found a new partner, but my grandparents lived just round the corner in the community where I live now was the community I grew up in. And back then it was kind of everybody knew everybody, and maybe there was stuff going on that I didn't know about as I'm a child, I'm not supposed to know, but that was probably the most stable part of my life. Growing up, it was good. We'd have squishy gun fights and catch bees, all this kind of stuff, play tag, whatever. But my parents were like 17 years old when they had me and my brother. So I've got a brother. Yeah, that are 10 months apart. My biological mum, so my mum and dad offered the gobbles, right? But when my dad and my mum had me and my brother, my dad moved to Cambuslang. And my mum's side of the family were kind of involved in like
criminality.
Aye. And like it wasn't really an environment for like any child to grow up in, let alone me and my brother, do you know what I mean? So my dad and my mum fought at court to get custody of me and my brother, but she didn't get any rights. And I think it was today with a lot of the kind of stuff that the social work and police knew what they were all about, do you know what I mean? I still talk to a lot of my cousins in that who are for that side, and they're no like the... Do you know what I mean? But overall, mate, it was kind of all right until my dad started dabbling in drugs, and then that was when it all started to kind of go pear-shaped.
I think when you get, but like even nowadays, like the way the world is now, it's so rife. Like the whole drug scene, the whole kind of criminality scene, it's rife. But when did it kind of start affecting you, do you think? When was it kind of...
I would say, so... When my dad, no, I'm totally not blaming his new partner for the drug taking, because she didn't take drugs, but she was a little bit younger than my dad. Whereas the partner my dad had when we were kids, she was maybe a couple of years older. And my dad kind of started it. We never seen him use drugs, but we'd see the effects of it. Like Christmas presents would go missing, and don't get me wrong, like the house that we lived in, it didn't resemble a drug den in any way, shape or form. But when there's no kind of nurturing, there's no direction,
about disconnect,
and then my dad sitting telling me and my brother, who were basically treated like twins. Everybody thought me and my brother were twins. We dressed the same, we looked the same, like even photos of us as kids, they look like twins, right? And he would sit and tell us stories about like gang fighting in the Gorbals with the Brigton ones, and me and my brother were just sitting at his feet like Siamese cats. Pure, like, that sounds cool as hell. And who sits and tells their 5, 6, 7-year-old kids these kind of stories? And he wasn't telling us saying, don't do this. I remember him showing me a stab wound under his arm that my mum's brother had done. And I'm sitting, and I'm like 6-year-old at the time, and I'm sitting thinking like, I'm not thinking that at the time.
Of course, it's too young to even decide.
But obviously, as I'm older and I've had my own kid, and I'm like, what kind of parenting style is that?
I think obviously, I mean, you don't know, but obviously you know kind of the trauma maybe that your dad and that went through. There's maybe stuff there that it was underlying with him, and I don't know, Kris, but
yeah.
I mean, I'm not, this isn't really about your life. I know you've done a couple about your life before, and this is more about your kind of expertise and stuff, so it's just kind of touching on when you first kind of went to prison and stuff, like when did you first go to prison?
First time I went to prison, I was 15. I actually went to Berlin as a schoolboy, but
were you in Berlin at 15 years age?
Yeah, but I didn't. I get kept in reception, and there was no spaces in secure units. So what happened was I got took to Berlin on the Berlin, what we called the bar bus, before G4S and all that, right? So sitting with all these, as we call hairy arse cons, chained up and all that.
Crazy.
And we got to the reception, and I was in a dug box for.
Did they put you in one of the dug boxes in Berlin?
myself, but.
Mental.
So I was in there. It was a while.
I mean, the dug boxes, just to let people know, they're scary, man, when you're in there just for the first time and you're shouting.
Sean, see if I told you that I was numb. I thought it was going to the job centre.
Aye.
Aye. And that's what I find worrying.
Aye.
Well, when I look back on it. But back then, I used to think it was more to do with my interpersonal style, my character, the person that I wanted to be at that time. But now I look at it as like, no, you were just that numb for everything that happened up to then.
Definitely.
That wasn't phasing you.
It's trauma responses into it, and it's like probably being 6-year-old getting taught about gang fighting, stabbing. That it's probably like led you into that position where you were kind of ready for.
Prime for it.
Prime for it. Do you know what I mean?
Like we'd kind of had wee skirmishes and that in the schools and all that up to them, but I wasn't gang fighting at that age. I want to kind of say, do you know what I mean? But as a kid, because I had no direction for my dad, because like my dad grew up with Jamie Boyle, who was Jimmy Boyle's son, right? So like he used to tell me all these stories, and I read Sense of Freedom when I was 10-year-old. So you're basically looking at a culture where violence is it's applauded. It's no shameful. And I'm not talking about like violence against women. I'm talking about like gangs, the hard man image, all that kind of stuff.
Gangsterism.
So, 100%. It's still going on the new, and it was there before I showed up. Do you know what I mean? So I think that was the kind of that was the
driving force.
The groundwork, and I was like, this is me going to meet. I'll meet this one, that one, network, blah blah blah. But
no, I think see deep down that when I first met you, Kris, I always kind of seen you as a nice guy. You knew a lot about crime, you know, but you were a nice guy, and you always had an empathetic, compassionate ear. You were always there for people at education, and I think that was kind of a big part of. I mean, you weren't the MD's fool, do you know what I mean? You were always there. You were never involved in kind of some of the stuff that were going to go into like the bullying and all that. That was 100%. Never your scene. But you were well respected, and you kind of got on with your sentence yourself. But you were always somebody that I enjoyed speaking to education, because I got a good conversation with you. And rarely did you get a good conversation in prison, do you know what I mean? So, but we're going to kind of talk about, it's because obviously I know you know so much about psychology. We're going to talk about the psychology of prison, right? And what drives things, what kind of different psychology, what's the psychology behind different things that happen. So, firstly, the first kind of topic that I was kind of going to speak about was just like the kind of the psychology behind the us and them, the psychology of the broken kind of how do we ever get to a position where you could trust a staff member that he's going to put you in the right direction?
Well, first you need to ask yourself, what is the right direction? Innit?
True. I mean, the right direction for me would probably be some sort of rehabilitative setting in a prison where you've no got a free reign of drugs, you've no got as you spoke about violence, and I always say, I've said that a few times on here, people need to realise when you go into prison that social standards are spun. Like violence is celebrated, drug taking celebrated, anti-authority is. These are all celebrated. But on the other side, staff members who are up for it and staff members who will fight back is celebrated on their side. Do you know what I mean? So there's a massive collision there. So I don't know if you could even elaborate a wee bit on what you think how that psychology. It's quite obvious, but like when you look at Stanford Experiment. Stanford Experiment. When you look at stuff like that, I mean, it's quite obvious how these things happen. But would you even go about starting to look at the psychology behind trying to build it on that?
Do you know what, Sean? That's one of the most probably difficult questions
question
I've ever been asked, mate. But it's a good one in that. But do you know what? I can only look at it through my experience and what I think, and try and filter it through maybe what I've learned. And I think that there will always be a kind of, you need to look at the kind of demographics of a lot of prisoners as well. There's people who are maybe they've not had a lot of education, or they've maybe had traumas and they don't want to talk about it, and they don't know who to approach, or if they could approach them, would they even talk about it?
How to regulate emotions.
They've not worked on themselves, but then you've got people who, I want to say, or maybe you're kind of antisocial types. Everything's a scam, everything's what can I get out this or whatever, and it's prison's just.
I mean, it's such a complex question to ask you, because there's so many different psychologies going on. I think that was kind of what I get at, is just how somebody with a psychology degree looking at it is even going,
I can only turn it on myself. I can only hold the mirror up to my own face, right, in that context with the psychology, the prison, in rehabilitation. I hate the word, I don't hate it, right? Rehabilitation to me means you were put back to the state you were in before all this even happened. So before all this prison happened, you were, and there was all the things that led up to you going to prison. I'm not just talking about the guy that stole a motor or carried a knife and got 6 months. I'm talking about repeat offenders, serious offenders, right? Doing big sentences. Or even somebody that got a big sentence one time, but then they're in that long, all their hearings, F the system, F this, F that. Do you know what? I'd be as well just kicking off, because I'll get more fun. Do you remember, do you ever hear this when you first got your sentence? Kick off for the first couple of years and then settle down, they'll see the change. That's a lot of crap, mate.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I was, do you know what I mean? Never one for kicking off, do you know what I mean? I was always, it wasn't my thing, do you know what I mean? I kind of got on with everybody in prison, do you know what I mean? But I know I was alongside people that done that, do you know what I mean? And that was, and one of the mindsets as well that you used to get in prison, I don't know if you remember this one, they used to say, just think of the worst and anything else is a bonus. Now, the psychology behind that, if you actually think of that, right, is just constantly negative thinking. But any wee
thing... The worst thing could be death.
Aye, obviously. And that's, I mean, that's happening probably more often in prisons.
100%.
You know what I mean? With the drugs that are going in and even the violence. So... I'm going to look at, we've had like Johnny Steele and that on here. I'm a big admirer of Johnny, right? Johnny, like, I don't know how he's still saying, and even Joe, I love Joe as well, but Johnny, how the isolation he went through, and I know on your Tinpail TV you've covered a few guys who are big names or whatever you want to call them in prison, who have done a lot of time in isolation. What kind of psychology does that do when you're isolated that much in the digger for maybe like say 6 years?
Well, I don't really want to kind of say that I know what he went through, right? But obviously, the thing is about prison, we all know who came before us. We all know the stories, well, or we think we do. And you need to remember, I know, Sean, like prisons back then they weren't the way they are. No. Even when I went in at the tail end of the 90s, mate, they weren't even the same, mate. No. Like the cages, like what? See some of the things that Johnny was saying, like what he went through, and mate, I don't know, it just must be sheer grit and determination, and at the end of the day I think he did say, was it on your channel, I think he did say sometimes he thought he was kind of losing it a wee bit, but at the end of the day, mate, you would never think that speaking to him.
No, what I found dead sad when you're talking to Johnny is like just the psychology behind when they opened the special unit and how successful the special unit was, right? But when they actually, I think he said it was Cokie that came up to say, look, Johnny had gone to the special unit, he thought they were taking him away to Carstairs.
Aye.
And then when he got to the special unit, his psychology was to fight. He'd been built up to, pent up to fight. So he hated the change, which is so strange. I know, and you go, Chris.
Do you think that it was like when they brought it? I don't know if this is the same. Tell me if you think there's a parallel to this, right? So I remember when they first introduced tellies, colour tellies, right, to the jail, right? And every single time the screw opened my door, unlocked my door, I used to switch it off and kid on, I wasn't watching it.
Aye.
And I think that was because I didn't want them knowing they had something they could take from me. And you know what? See, when it was just on to keep my head quiet.
I know what you mean. I know.
It wasn't on because I was watching
I remember people
EastEnders or whatever. I was not caring. Just reading my books, but it was a novelty then, and it was just like, I never had it before, so take it, but I didn't want them to know, here, we can take something for you.
It was a tool, it was a carrot. It was a tool, we'll take that. Listen, when you got your telly took off, it wasn't great, do you know what I mean? It was...
Get a floater.
Get a floater, I would. Hide it and all that until running
cat bag. Sopranos is on tonight.
So obviously looking at that type of isolation and even being isolated for your family and that kind of setting where, let's be honest, your peers are people who are criminally minded, probably reinforcing
criminal beliefs, behaviours, attitudes, narratives, a lot, mate. Aye.
So you look at the psychology behind officers then, right? Now, obviously, I can't speak for Adderall because Adderall obviously, like, it's weird, the 6 weeks training, fire, right? And I don't get that, right? I don't know if Kamal was the same, but
I think it wasn't
strange.
that. I can't speak for them, but I don't think it was that different.
I mean, I've got some stats here, I pulled up some stats on the risks in some of the staff. So a survey, this is in the US, right enough, but I mean, we've kind of similar kind of things that found that around 27% of staff reported symptoms consistent with major depression, higher than any general workforce.
Is this for private jails or is this jails overall?
So that was overall in America, so it could include...
but they're seen that, like, mate, I've done a wee bit of research into American... my thing is, I know that. My foreign penal systems, and, mate, I've read that this is academic stuff, it's not like a true crime book. It's like, but it was a jail in California. There was some guy, and
no,
it wasn't San Quentin. It was somewhere. It was I think it might have been Calipatria or something like that, right? And then basically they were about to grape a guy, right? And the screw walked in, they're like, get out, we're doing this, and he left. And you imagine you got to work every day and seeing that, like the lunatics run the asylum, and it's no like in Scottish jails, they know where maybe one of them's getting punched or they're getting in and there's guys all sitting taking drugs, and or the general attitude, it's like murders, sexual assaults, severe beatings, like, mate, that would drive MD after them, that.
I mean, obviously I've read similar stuff, I know as much as you, Chris, but I have read that some of the obviously the gang stuff in America is different, right? And stuff, but
racial stuff, it's all everything's separated with race,
and segregated and stuff, and even the psychology behind that is mental, right? But I've also read stuff I know that the British system and stuff, there is elements of that's worse. I mean, see, when we had Fritzy over, Fritzy couldn't understand. Fritzy Horseman, she does a compassionate prison project in America, and the amount of drug taking that gets took in Scottish jails and stuff is pretty high.
You know what I mean? Per capita, whatever it is.
It's huge, and you know yourself, right? When you used to sit in the hall, right, you could smell it when the when Valium came in, right? Like the hall would just turn into a fucking
stab fest.
and it was insane. And you were just you would be in your crowd just standing waiting, and it would kick off. You knew it was going to kick off, and then you'd be behind your door and everybody was all shouting.
Aye.
But the psychology behind that again is sure, I always talk about fear-driven, and even in my book I talk about everything being fear-driven, right? Even the choice of drug surely comes down to the psychology behind you being fear and you taking a certain drug that's going to kill pain or influence your confidence.
Well, that's quite interesting what you said, right? So influence and confidence, so that basically, say I had an issue with you, right? And somebody's pissing in my ear and they know that me and you don't go on, but the guy that's pissing in my ear's got a bit of influence. You're 20 Scoobs, aye. You should hang with him, and I've seen it happen a million times, mate. Know what I mean? Go and prod him, and then I'm sitting like that, talk myself into it. And I think a lot of it today was, to me, that's like, I don't know if I'd say it kind of is taking advantage a wee bit, but at the end of the day, to me, that thought was probably already in that guy's head. They just needed a wee nudge.
Right.
But at the same time, I think there's so much hypervigilance in long-term prisons, especially the new what's going on with a lot of kind of factions and all this. It's like, do you know, camps and this and that, and it's like, here, I better get him first. And it's the same in the schemes as well. No so much where I stay the new, but like when I was growing up, mate, 100%, I was like, mate, I
think the gang culture in a way is kind of affecting Scottish prisons now and UK prisons, not the same way, but it's certainly, like as you say, there's different things going on in society that influence things, but because I think jail's a kind of scary place, especially the drugs that are going in the new spice, Tizalan, stuff just, like that.
They're no drugs.
Like,
they're not
like
even
just,
drugs.
Insane things. Not I mean? And obviously, it's funny, I remember a guy who a really good pal of mine, and I won't say his name because he's still there, and I remember something kicked off and a guy get punched or whatever, right? And my pal was more than capable of doing something sober, right? Which I'm not fucking glorifying. But this guy said, well, after he get punched, wait till I get full of scoobs, right? And he'll see, right? And my pal was like,
I would have just
roasted him, right? He roasted him and was like, what? Like, fucking, what are you talking about? Like,
you wait to have a good sleep.
You know what I mean? Like, that's what it was kind of, so, and it was that kind of, that's that kind of craziness that you're dealing with. Do you know what I mean? Like, in the way that people are waiting to get some sort of confidence for a substance.
But then with that guy, in my experience, somebody who made a statement like that could have probably came round a 360, mate, because he's basically made a threat. When I get full of Valium, which basically people know is, and especially in prisons, people are walking about tooled up. So basically, if you had punched me and I says, wait till I get full of screws, you'd have been like, is that right? Aye. 2 minutes. And then I'm lying bleeding out in the flare.
Aye. No, this is what, I don't think people, I always try and tell people, see when I see all that, like the Radisson and all this kind of, it drives me insane, right? It's like holiday camps and that. It's the toxic environment of prison and the kind of macho fucking thing that goes on, right? And listen, I'm not saying it about Andy because I've got loads of pals who I really respect. Do you know what I mean? And I know they're no scared of anything, right? But it is fear driven. Do you know what I mean? It's fear of losing face, and it's fear of losing a bit of reputation.
100%. Yeah, and mate, I've been in a situation like that, no using a weapon, but using my horns, and somebody maybe said something or said to somebody they were going to do something, and I'd be in my cell looking at myself in the mirror like shaving, and I'd be like, you're doing him, mate, and just you need, and saying to myself, you're not getting out for another X amount of years anyway, just, but and I think maybe a lot of people in prison, and maybe I'm projecting myself onto them, I know I've got a good side, but also have a side that's maybe a bit do you know what I mean? I was in prison, come on, know what I mean? So I call it see the younger Kris, the 20-year-old Kris, that's still there. It's like sitting on my shoulder or something.
Aye.
But it's like my intrusive thoughts and the old ways of doing things and all that kind of stuff, right? And it almost never happens, but it's the thoughts are always there, mate. And I'm just like, and see when you're in prison, you don't have anything maybe to look forward to, maybe all you can lose is your terror. You're like, what do you got to do? Put an extra bar on my window? Do you know what I mean?
No, you're right. I think that, and obviously I'm going to kind of move on to the next kind of wee thing that I was about to talk to you about, is egos. Prison's full of egos, right?
Aye.
And that's staff as well.
Aye.
Can you survive with an ego in prison?
Well, people are doing it, but they're on protection, aren't they?
Can you survive? Aye, and I know what you mean. So, I mean, these are the type of things that we try and talk about. How do you deal with that? How do you get people to drop their egos? Because I've seen, like, we had Eddie Gorman on here, right?
I know Eddie. I was in shots with him. Aye.
Eddie's, I mean, you know Eddie was how well quoted Eddie was, right? And
good at maths.
Aye, we're very well quoted, right?
Aye.
And Eddie was on here and he talked about how he needed to shatter his ego. Let his ego go, right? And I think it was dead powerful the way he was talking about it. But how do you get other people to do that?
I don't know how you get other people to do it. I know how I got myself to do it.
Aye.
Reflection and what do you want for you? You need to ask yourself a lot of hard questions, mate. Mate, listen, see when I was growing up, when I first started kind of hitting the jails and all, even before that, mate, I had an ego, and to me an ego is a sign of weakness.
Aye.
Ego is basically something that is, I'm not about to kind of couch it in all these terms, right, but to me, somebody who kind of outwardly manifests ego, to me is hiding something. You're hiding weakness, you're hiding fragility, and I've done it, mate. I'm not sitting going, look at him. I'm saying I was doing it all my days, man. But then I got that long, mate. I was just sitting going, do you know what, man? Who gives a fuck, man? But MD's saying, hey, you need to let go of it.
Definitely.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying go and start going against the great, like, just do your own thing, do your own time. If you want to get out and you want to go straight and you want to desist for crime and kind of make good and all that, like maybe like what you're doing, maybe I don't want to say what I'm doing, but I'm mate, compared to where I'm at now, man, compared to years ago, I'm.
Oh, and listen, do you know what I mean? You're a full, Kris, man, you're a full-time father that puts your son first.
Aye, 100%.
And you've got you're a totally different person from when I knew you. So testament to yourself. But I think that when that I always see that as the problem, right? I always see that you could go into a group. You know yourself, you could go into a group and you could be like, fucking hell, it just said Eddie was up, and I'm not saying this would happen, Eddie, but you could go into a group with Eddie and Eddie's talking pure sense, getting everybody, raising people's awareness and going, do you know what, I need to question myself, what do I want for life, and then you could get one person in there who has got the big ego going, you talk shite. And that's
they've
all
just
it
not
takes,
got there
right?
yet.
And then it drops to people in
like,
the groups.
Nobody saying that in case they all slack.
Totally.
Aye. Jail's
so
like that,
one person can change a full hall. I try and say that all the time. One person can come in and change the full dynamics. That's where I sometimes see problems. And how do you deal with that? I mean, I've always said Scotland's small enough, right? Scotland is small enough that you could have like Berlin, right, as like a admission jail, right? When you go in and you so what is it you want to do? Well, do you know what? I like social media, I like mechanics, I like this, right? Okay, so you like social media, you've got to Adwell, they've got big studios up there. I like mechanics, I like manual work, right? They've got to Kilmarnock. And if you come in and you're going like, I don't like any kind, I'm going, fuck you. Right, okay, you're going to Aberdeen, you're going, like you could put them all together. Do you know what I mean? Scotland is small enough to do that.
I'm kind of build on that, what you just said there. So one of the books that I read when I was doing my degree, which I noticed that you had on your notes, Michael Foucault, The Birth of the Prison. One of the things that I mentioned in my thesis was how he had these kind of, I don't know if you've read this book, right, but there's 10 points in it. And one of them was segregate inmates according to age, mentality and gravity of offence and all these kind of other characteristics. Now, when you're talking about having a jail for maybe guys that are maybe they're just no caring, like in shots they had the cabbage. If you don't want to go to work and you don't
Even
want to do
the word
nothing with your
of
day.
that.
Right. So I think that I always thought about that, mate, but how serious are you taking all this? Do you know what? I think you mentioned this before, and I done it in my degree. The corporate plan, every quarter or every 4 year, 3 years, something they bring it out. SPS, right? Scottish Prison Service. And we're going to embed an assets-based approach, which you've just basically said, right? So the first one was the assets-based approach, the assistance at the heart of purposeful activity. They're changing it, they're recycling all these buzzwords, and it just looks good on paper, but maybe somebody does want to implement this, and they're going to the academics, because I know some of them, and these are the people that the criminal justice system, the penal system, are getting all this information for, and then they're saying they're going to implement it in the penal system, and it's no happening. Nobody knows about it, mate.
Ground level, it's just
right, and mate, come on, there's staff in prison that they have, there's the kind of the jaded ones, the pessimistic ones, they'll never be it, and it's shite, and then you've got the ones that go, I'd love to see you get out and get on with your life and all that. So maybe, do you know Norway? You probably do know. Do you know you need to do a degree in being a prison officer before you can be a prison officer, right? So
that's a trauma-informed prison. That's
right. So we're meant to be trauma-informed now, so what's going on?
No, and do you know what? I've been pulled up a couple of times by certain people, and I always say, see the stuff like Natalie Logan's doing and Kevin Carberry up at Lomoss, and there's Addy Wells got a recovery cafe and stuff, and they're doing some great work right there, and it is all raising people. I had Mark McNichol on the day talk, and his project sounded really good to me. I was really impressed with that. He was talking about basically cutting... basically having like a drama thing where you write a screenplay, and it's like there's a protagonist and the whole group kind of create the protagonist, and then you've got the critic, and then you've got the mentor, and you basically write a screenplay. But what you're doing is really a mirror image. You're mirroring out, and then you're getting to reflect at the end of it. And I was really impressed with it. I was like, that's such a good idea.
Arts,
do you know what I mean? The arts and bringing it out. And it won't be for everybody, but it'll be... A lot of people would be interested in that. A lot of people.
100%.
And you know yourself, Kris, there's a lot of hidden talent in the prison.
I was just got to say that, mate. Some of the best painters I've met. There's guys, some of the weirdest talents you've ever seen, mate, are in the jail. Like, I'm
guys
just like...
can make tattoo guns out of PlayStation guns. PlayStation controllers.
Aye.
It's some of the stuff you see as ingenious, and you'll hear prison officers, even in America and that, when they're talking, they'll say that the stuff today is ingenious. And how they work out, no got a clue. But again, this goes to the psychology. It goes to the heart of, I think, we talk about Dostoevsky and stuff like that, right? And they talk about how he says the best way that you can kind of bear how well a society is doing is look at its prison system.
I think our prison system's the flip side of our society, mate.
Aye, I agree with you.
Seeing you walk down the Four Corners in Glasgow, mate, you could basically find about 10 people who would basically look like they've just kind of came out of prison, right? And to me, when you look at the kind of, I don't know, it's probably countrywide, but when you look at the kind of issues, we kind of say trauma, drugs, violence, poverty, ACEs, all this kind of stuff, going to jail, almost every prisoner has got all these issues, mate. You'll maybe find...
the stats they hit out with, like, I never looked them up, I've looked them up before, but like 60% are addicted to 60% take drugs. I'm like, what? I'm like, it's 90%. Aye. 90s. Like, you're like,
it's more than that, man.
Take drugs, do you know what I mean?
I remember in Kilmarnock, mate, and there was maybe one guy who, not really bad at going it, mate. I'd been puffing weed, right?
Aye.
And I was looking for a sample, mate, and there was only one guy in the hall who could give me it. One guy in a whole but 70 prisoners, mate.
Aye.
Tells you the same story, doesn't it?
I remember guys running about asking for fucking house cleaned and all that, and now you couldn't get one. Do you know what I mean? And
I'm laughing, no, because it's funny. I'm just laughing like, man, we're just.
It's nuts, and it's the staff know about it, but this is the thing, right? It's so what I don't get, right, is this: we know these things are going on, right, and then you can go and look at Germany, you can go and look at Norway, and you can go and look at better penal systems, right, and go.
What are they
doing right?
Aye.
And then why they've got a 20% reoffending rate. What are they doing, right? No, what they're doing is basically we done the special unit.
Well,
that is what they're
it
doing.
worked that well. They shut it down.
Aye, and to change somebody like Johnny Steele, Jimmy Boyle. I mean, some of the guys he changed were unbelievable. Do you know what I mean? Like the
sorts of damage.
Aye, do you know what I mean? So. I think when you just, and then you've got like, I've had David Heyman and Tommy Sheridan and people like that, and I hope they're coming back on soon, but and we'll hopefully talk about that. But the special unit, I was really intrigued with. Because I didn't know, like Johnny was saying it was an experiment.
Well, kind of was, wasn't it? And it worked. I remember when I first went to shots, the old special unit was the library and where we had to go to do the violence prevention programme. And I remember walking about it thinking like this was like, it was a jail within a jail, but it was like they had their own kitchens and mate, did you ever see it? You were up the old shots when I was there?
I've seen like bits.
Just like a wee, it was kind of like the Wendy House but a lot better. Better cells, better just like a big kind of triangle thing, and they kind of a grassy kind of pitch outside.
Kind of like Latham Hall.
It was better than that, mate. And I just remember sitting thinking like, how could you shut this down when it was working for? And did they not end up having that riot? That was just before I went up, maybe a year before I went up. But I think they had the riot because they were shutting it down.
I mean, obviously, like the guys, like it's like Johnny told me a story, and he said that basically what happened was he was like saying to a guy was kind of greeting right, and then Johnny says, "Don't show them you're greeting right," and the guy was like, "I wish I was like you, Johnny."
I mind watching that.
He said, "I wish I was like you." And this is the madness that's going on in prison. People are being so unauthentic, right? And it's. I always try and
cognitive dissonance or something.
How do you bring that authenticity? I write about it in my book, and I say, how do you be your authentic self in prison? Right, it's so hard, and I understand that, but surely that's what we need to strive towards. And I don't understand when you've got a blueprint in Norway and stuff, right? But is it a societal thing?
I think right. This is just my suspicions, right? I think a lot it's to do with how the media report crime, report. We have this kind of attitude, and don't get me wrong, I've got some of them myself, but it's more for your right, hardcore, extreme, predatory, doing it for kicks sort of thing. It's no like. A wee thing, we was out at a party, was out at the pub and they were all fighting, some guy gets smashed, whatever, right? That's just cultural, unfortunate, and just it wasn't done for kicks and all. It's what you're saying, maybe masking survival, ego driven, whatever. But I think that a lot of it today was a big part. It's it's what you said, the Radisson and all this. Like, there was a lot of. I did well when it opened, when we first went there, because I remember seeing you there, mate, plenty of times. It was better, there was, you had a shower on yourself, what man not allowed to get washed. I know. What's the big deal with? Exactly. So what's the big deal with? And then you're getting people who are maybe old school and maybe victims of crime as well. They're sitting reading, what? He's got a shower in his cell. He's hurt my son, my daughter.
It's not rolled out right.
There's no nothing. It's like, mate, come on, man. When you're reading somebody, I don't even read papers or watch news a lot of the time. It's because of that. I think they know that now. Know what I mean?
And I guess it's because of the sensationalism and trying to say, and this is something that I often talk about on a show. I hate glamorising crime because it's not something that I like to kind of see. Do you know what I mean? I don't like it, and I know other people have got their things and they camerise it, whatever. But it's no my thing, and I don't think that any young person, any young person, we always try and kind of go, fucking just don't want them to go through that shit, man. You know what I mean? It's so fucking hard, and then
100%.
And I'll go back to it quite a lot with even Lord Turnbull, who I'm not a big fan of, obviously, right?
No.
No, exactly, man. Pure banger, right? No, but Lord Turnbull, he wrote an amazing paper on don't send people under 25 because they're still mature. They're still maturing into their 25. Don't send them to prison because it's like a university for prisoners, and you just become networking. You start
cemented.
And then you get good at staying out, and then you become the criminal that's you don't get touched.
And it's not even just that, when you go to these LTP long-term jails and that as well, and you're maybe meeting somebody that's got a big network, it's got a lot of influence, and they maybe take a shine to you, and you're like, mate, that's what I always wanted. And then you could end up getting involved in it, and then 5 years down the road going, what have I done?
Easy.
And there's no way out. The only way out's life or in a box, a concrete or a wooden one, mate, innit?
Well, I mean, like you see Eddie Gorman and stuff, and you see people. I know other people that have done it, even Johnny Steele. And people have managed to get away.
100%.
It's a very hard, and it takes a unique kind of. It's what you said earlier. It's the psychology of being able to critically analyse yourself, right, and take. I'm not saying feel sorry for yourself, right, but empathise with yourself to go, what the fuck did I just go through there? Like what
was it for?
What the fuck was that environment I was in there? Like that was nuts, right? Like it's no right, because when you come out here and you start talking to like I don't like
civilised
the word normal, civilised
people,
right? Normal people or whatever, right? I don't like that word normal, right?
I know,
but civilised probably is better, right? But so but they're kind of fascinated with it, I know, right?
Well, but it is fascinating, but it is fascinating, but like, because I get some mad questions sometimes. Like, I'm not going to lie, right? I'm only ashamed of like my past, and like, because I go to some classes and that, and there's nobody there. Like, mate, there's ex-coppers and serving coppers in these classes I go to, and some people, I'm quite open. Like, I don't walk in and just blurt it out. But like, when I get to know people, and it's quite you get people, it's like, what? And I'm like, how I always get this is the one I laugh at. How could you do that? I could never do that. And I go, well, I couldn't walk down and hit the big red button and go, I sign the sorry book, man, go to let us out. Know what I mean? You've not got a choice. When see, this is what I keep telling.
It's flung into it.
Right. So you need to think about if there's maybe, like, because we all know it's not even just Glasgow and Edinburgh, no, it's everywhere now, right? There's these kids that are maybe looking up to the guy in the scheme with the money and the motor and the jewellery and the birds and all that, right? But you need to think about it. See, when you've got all that, right, what's the next step? Are you going to be, see, when you're sitting in the jail, which when you, soon you're going to come to somebody's attention. You're going to come to attention of the drug squad, whatever, or you're going to come to attention of somebody with bigger teeth than you. And it's double-edged sword, mate, and it's no life, man. Wouldn't
But I think where people get it wrong, right? I've met people in the jail. Listen, I know people in the jail who are either amazing at masking how they deal with prison, right? I'm not going to name names, but they're amazing at masking how they deal with prison. And it's as if water off a duck's back. Now, I don't know if that is just down to how they are or how they operate, or if it's their authentic self. I honestly, I can't make my mind up.
Might be a bit of all it, mate.
And I think it is. I think it's just that. But I can guarantee you ask any of these people with that, what was your upbringing like, and there'll be something there. There'll be like a hard upbringing that they've had to make. They've had to carve their way into life.
Carve their path. That's why they're well there.
Definitely, and that's where the ruthlessness becomes. Because see, when they were that age, that happened to them. Everybody was ruthless to them, and they were young, and they end up going, right, well, that's the way of the world. And it's like, you see that fucking, I honestly can't stand him, that Tate, right? A lot of people
I didn't even know who he was, mate, and I'm going to stick myself in here, right? I thought he was an MMA fighter or something, right? Or a kickboxer, right? But I didn't know who he was. But he made a quote, but I liked the quote, and I shared it on my Instagram story, and my instructor was like, he's not somebody you want to be quoting. I was like, how no? And he sent me all this. I was like, oh, I was just like, but I think I don't like a lot of this serious attitude towards women. I don't like all that, mate.
He's very articulate, right? And obviously he's going. I honestly think he's a Mossad agent or something, a CIA agent. I swear to God, I think he's there to divide the young people. I genuinely think he's there to divide. He just came out of nowhere, like with this pure mad story, and then all of a sudden,
where's he getting all this money? I know it's a bit of a tangent, but where's he getting all this money for? Because he's no, but is he won that many fights? He's rolling in it.
No, he's got a thing called the Hustlers University or something like that, and he makes a lot of money off that. I mean, listen, the guy's fucking.
I'm a John Pearson kind of guy, mate. I'm not into.
No, do you know what put me off him the most is when he says there's no such thing as mental health. You don't have mental health problems, no, it's a choice, and all that, right? That was. He done 3 months in a Romanian jail, and I know a broken person when you see him, right? And see if you watch him walking out of that van and out of that prison, it was snapped. Do you know what I mean? But anyway, I think the whole thing with that is how the ego is the main thing in prison, and I think your
weakness isn't a quality.
No, and
not at all, man.
People can sniff it a mile away.
Aye, man. See it in your eyes, mate. I can see it in your eyes, man. As soon as you walk in that door, you probably did it yourself.
No, I mean, I hated moving halls because you didn't know what you were going into. You didn't know who was there. You didn't know hating it. It was always, I mean, don't get me wrong, after a while, you're kind of known, and you can go into a hall and people
high
know,
five.
you know what I mean? So, and obviously that's just the way it was. But I remember like Pullman, and I was very, very lucky to have people that looked out for me and showed me the ropes, and I knew certain people that kind of were able to kind of show me how to do things, and I was very lucky to have that support network. I had a very good family outside. I had a very strong partner and all that. I mean, I was very lucky. But I struggled when I came out. Massively struggled.
Do you mean when you finished your sentence? Or at a moment to the cons?
No, the whole thing was a fucking absolute struggle for me. Like when I look back at it, I go, how the fuck did I do that? Like, how did I do a degree in it? I don't know. I don't have a master. I mean, like, I'm just like, what happened? But it's like a blitz. But I always try, and people go, is it? I always go, see, day in the time is slow as fuck. But looking back at it, it's rapid. I
think time bends in jail. I don't think you can. So I'm weird. I remember my dates, right? So say like the Michael Franzese thing, right? The exact date I went there, and then so this time next year I'll go. That was a year ago. That's like pure fluent, but or that's dragged in. But see, a year in the jail, mate, it's the exact opposite. A year outside, you're like, what? That was a year ago. I know.
And you can speak like Michael Franzese. I quite like Michael Franzese. He's pretty. He's a gentleman, and he doesn't promote crime, and you get the same even with some of the Glasgow guys, like even like Paul Ferris, you know, that kind of guys and stuff like that, like guys who the people look up to, and stuff like that. These people are putting out that message as well. Don't go there. Do you know what I mean?
But do you know what's funny? You're even saying that, mate, because when we met him at that Michael Franzese thing, and he said to my wee boy, he said, here, wee man, you know that all that gang stuff's a lot of shit, don't you?
Which is a good thing to have. Like it's like it's people like that you need telling the story, and it's the more I think more and more people are able to get vulnerable, right? And they're starting to say like
you have your Wayne. You see when you have a Wayne, mate, all bets are off. I think, man, innit? And
I think you can start to get people that will go, do you know what? I'm going to talk about being vulnerable when I was before I couldn't.
I think that's when maybe when you're saying about like how do we do it, maybe it's like we're talking about the SPS, right? The Scottish Prison Service, the new corporate plan, we're going to bring this trauma-informed practice, right? Do they honestly think they're going to go into a place like Shorts and sit with 10 guys in a room like when I was on that violence prevention course, like your Porkies and Robert Mones and all that on it, and somebody's going to be talking about vulnerabilities? It's not going to happen.
No.
It's so what's the point to doing it? I think see that
recovery cafe, right? When we were at a recovery cafe, I've got to give you that was a safe place for people, right? Where people go to
But
vulnerable
it's
and
civvies
stuff.
that are running it. It's no screws and psychologists, know what I mean?
No, and I get and it's
And some of these civvies have probably went through the kind of similar things that you have grown up, aye?
No, they have. It's mostly
Lived
people with lived experience,
Mm-hmm.
and listen, I think they're clicking onto it. They're late onto it, and they're slow, but I think they're slowly clicking onto that's the way that they need to move forward. Do you know what I mean? So I'm going to go to the kind of next kind of wee thing that I want to kind of bring up, and obviously talk about like addiction and drugs in jail, right? Addiction and drugs, obviously, to me was king. Do you know what I mean? That was king.
Oh, aye, right, aye. Well, if you look at money outside, what's money in the jail?
If you had drugs, you were quoted,
the bank,
weren't you?
that's
the
your
man,
money.
weren't you? Aye,
I'd buy it in your bank.
So like you have that. So addiction, but drug of choice. Usually 9 times out of 10 guys outside, eckies, coke, stuff like that, come into prison. That doesn't suit that mentality, because eckie, coke.
I took my first eckie in Pullman.
I think, did you enjoy it?
Not as much my second one when I got it.
Aye. So I think the moral, what I'm trying to get to, right, is like,
and no, but I mean, it was a lot more potent. It was like a roller coaster. Like I was stuck to the armchair. I'm not even kidding, bro. But see, I don't know, right? See, I think, there's this kind of thing for everybody in jail, to me, seem to want to take downers.
This
like
is what I'm
sit
talking
with
about.
their head between their legs. And
this is what I was going to say. The drug of choice
it's probably to
block out
aye,
reality.
like you wake up and 3 days have passed.
Aye.
Like what?
Aye.
What happened there?
I think you look at your opioids and that, which are a big problem in prison. They're painkillers, right?
Aye.
And so they kill the emotional pain and all, right? So you're not feeling as much pain. Valium is your nervous system, chills your nervous system out. Like, so that's where your benzos
takes your anxiety away and all that.
And that's what a Tizalam and that is now.
Right.
No.
So what's a Tislam Street Valium?
Kinda, but it's changed. There's Benazolam and all that. I mean, it's there's all these. There's that many different things.
If you no notice, sorry to cut you off, Sean. Right, if you no notice, right. See, when I first went to like shots and all that, right, man, there was guys what you call scorers, guys going to visits and come back with parcels, guys having angles, launches, whatever. See, when the NHS took the prison healthcare, it was like a shift for scoring to medication.
For illicit drugs to prescription drugs.
Aye, and that's all I've ever seen. But then now there's this, it's shifted for obviously the I would imagine there's a lot of prescription drugs that still have currency, but
Aye.
that now it's what you're saying, the Tizalam,
But your drug
Frazalam and
testing,
all
right?
that.
So you have a Tizalam, and the drug test can't keep up, right? The benzos are changing.
Aye.
I mean,
they're not even showing up.
These nitizens, right? They are fucking insane. No, I'm so scared of them hitting the jail. Like,
What they call it? Nitazene?
Nitazene, aye. So
Never
it's
even heard
like
of
it's like 1,000 times stronger than heroin, right? It's a killer, man.
Why would you even try that?
It's a killer, but they're putting it in street Valium, it's getting found in cocaine, and I mean, we get the reports for the police, right? And the police are telling you, like, down in Dumfries and Galloways, there was a bunch of street Valium with nitizenes in it, and so you get. No, Scotland's not ready for that yet. We've just went up, we've moved 10% up this quarter on drug deaths, right? It's went up 10%, and I've always said it, it's the most easiest sum in the fucking world, and it annoys me because you rise poverty, right? Mental health rises with that, and drug deaths rise, right? So fucking fix the poverty, fix. Go into the streets. That's where we need to be. No, I don't know. Like it's just annoying. Like it annoys me that you can have somebody like's got £5 billion in their bank. What do you need that for, right? Like what is the point of having that? Like you can't spend it, and there's Waynes. Can't go even get food at a food bank. They're running it that quickly, and but
that's to me. That's kind of I'd say that's a bit of kind of double-edged argument, because that would say you'd come up with an invention tomorrow, and I'm not saying you wouldn't spread your wealth or you would just sit like fucking Scrooge. I'm saying you've just got people who have made that much money that it's like I've got that much money, but then there is all this. There's all this poverty, but I don't think the poverty's anything to do with somebody that sold 1 billion iPhones. I think it's more to do with mate. See the government. I'm not pure about to go into all this with you because it's a bit of it frustrates the shit out me as well. Like you look at all these. See the government, mate. The government's in charge of a certain amount of money. Why are they not throwing money at all this? Do you honestly think the government want prisons to shut? Do you think they want? Of course they don't, mate.
I know.
Come on, man. There's people there that probably do. But
no, we've spoken about this before, and I've spoken about it, and I've said look, see if you eradicate crime overnight, there's a massive system. And listen, see the most elite people, and I don't care who MD says, the most elite people that you'll get in this country and in most countries are the legal system. The legal system is more powerful than the stupid politicians at Holyrood. They are the only people that you can't look at. They can't look into a bank account.
They investigate themselves.
You can't. It's illegal to investigate them. It's nuts. The stuff for people, it's madness, right? They're the people that are empowered, but they are, as you say, they write the laws and stuff. And I think if you eradicated crime overnight, they wouldn't be there, right? And they're a massive pillar in society. They're actually called one of the 3 pillars of society. The legal system, the judicial system is one of the pillars of it. So how can you have the 3 pillars of society and there's no one there? Do you know what I mean? So our society's built on it.
Black budgets and all that.
It's insane. I mean, you could. That's a whole different episode, isn't it?
Aye, definitely.
But listen, it does fit into the narrative where you've got to go. Why they no fit? Because. But what I was saying, see if I invented an invention now that was worth fucking £5 billion, right? See if you're giving people a minimum wage, right, and just a livable wage, right? You should have a maximum wage. We've spoken about it before. There should be a maximum. I don't think that if you like fucking Nikola Tesla or Leonardo da Vinci, right? I would have or Einstein, whoever, like people that I respect, right? I would go, you deserve a fucking amazing life. Like you're such an amazing person, right? Go and enjoy your life,
you've
right?
Contributed to hugely. Mankind.
Totally. You're such a. So go and enjoy your life. There's fucking 100 million, right? That's surely you can live off £100 million, right? The rest we're going to invest into society and we'll build up society and all that. Now, I know that there would be inflation and you would need to cover, but some fucking arsehole that's just been born into £5 billion and they're sitting with, what is the pot? Have a maximum wage where you cap it, man. Surely, it's a whole other thing, right? Way after tangent.
No. I'm saying it's a good argument what you're talking about, but it's never going to happen in a capitalist country, mate. Know what I mean?
No, because these people, as we say, make the laws. And
where do you think half of their money's gone? They're lobbying governments to get
big pharma. It's horrible, the big pharma. And then as we talk about what runs the fucking prison system is prescription drugs, do you know what I mean? And nearly every single person in society is on some sort of pill, whether it be for blood pressure or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Most people are on a pill. Do you know what I mean? Like, or get up in the morning and need to pop an antidepressant. And a lot of people, there's a stigma around it. People don't want you to know. And
no, I'm on antidepressant, but it's not for depression. It's for anxiety. I went to cut you off, mate, a wee bit, but when I was in therapy for 2 years, and basically I got that. Can't mind the name of the assessment tool. So for any kind of psychiatric or psychological disorder, I've got an assessment tool, and I got assessed for PTSD, and say the cut-off point was 30, right? And she phoned me back and says, no, I'm just a CP, a community psychiatric nurse. She says, I'm just wanted, can I get a general, can I guesstimate of where you're at? She says, what do you think your cut-off score was? And I says 25. She says 73. Wow. 73 on the PTSD.
Is that you hitting all ACEs and shit, like that test thing?
I had 7 out of 10 of them. The only ones I didn't have was I think one's sexual abuse, the other one's visiting a family member in prison and seeing your mum and dad fight each other. That's only 3 I never had.
No, it's scary. I mean, look, I did try and get some statistics to talk about that, and I was looking at even because I look at it and I say, like, see, staff face these challenges as well, right? They like staff. So PTSD rates in staff, right? Studies indicate that up to 34% of prison officers experience symptoms of PTSD influenced by exposure to violence, constant threat and related stress. So you've got staff burnout, which is high stress environments, demanding work conditions, blah blah blah, massive turnover rates, do you know what I mean, like huge turnover rates. Sometimes some prisons have got 30% of people on the sick or depressed. That's how much staff are off. Health risks, that prison officers die very young. There's a massive addiction with alcoholism related to prison officers as well.
Is this kind of in general, or is this UK? Or?
This is general UK.
Right.
Like, so I don't know if you know, there used to be a pub in Balliny. There used to be like a pub for the staff.
All right. I thought that was just in Porridge.
No.
Remember that?
Aye. No, there was a pub in Balliny,
Right.
and some of the staff like would kick about. I mean, you can obviously speak to Johnny and that. Some of them used to go down and just rattle a few pints.
Just for the kind of...
But there's a lot of domestic violence goes on, and this is... It's all, again, it's this high volatile environment, and people under... I mean, you've got guys like Jacob Rees-Mogg, right, coming on and try to tell you how to run a justice system, right? The guy drives me insane. He's got a monocle and all that, and you're just like, mate, like, you couldn't even... I know. He's got a son and all that, the same and all that, do you know what I mean? And you're just like, why is this
just
guy...
privilege, mate, innit?
Aye, and I think this is where we go wrong. It's we don't look at, and even as we come up to the obviously the general elections coming up, right, and there's a lot of people going with this like Reform UK and all that, and I know I'm going to get backlash for this, right, but I just can't take Nigel Farage serious, do you know what I mean?
It's just different.
Listen, he's got a lot of stuff in there that I go, I agree with and all that, right? But what he's doing, he's just taking Donald Trump's book.
I think every single politician you look at's probably got hundreds of things you would agree with, and
even
but then there'll be all these hidden kind of policies. It's like, oh, do you know what, man, we'll raise the wages and we'll do this for prison, do that for prison, then they get into power and they go, no, what? It's like Obama wanted to close Gitmo, didn't he? They get into power, like, you're not closing nothing, mate.
No, well, I'm going to, obviously, somebody sent me this, so this is Reform UK's kind of manifesto, right, and this is about crime, right? So it says, obviously, policing and justice, right? So it says, commence increasing police, right? Zero tolerance on crime.
But do you think it's going to happen, Mel?
Right? I've never seen anybody, I've never in my life seen anybody having trauma punished at them and addiction punished at them.
But they're Labour, I think, as well, will want to build more jails.
Oh, I know. No,
so they're all mad.
It's unfortunately what society wants here, right? And that's all, like, somebody like Nigel Farage is jumping on that, right? He's jumping on what society wants, right? Like, that sound... See, like, he's obviously wrote there, like, cut foreign aid by 50%, we'll save £6 billion, right? People are like, oh, the UK were fucked. Why? The frontline NHS and social care staff to pay zero tax rate for 3 years. I mean, that's a lot of people that are going to take that vote just to get a tax-free wage for 3 years, do you know what I mean? So I think he's learned after Trump, he's partly with Trump, but I think he's policing, this is the one I like, 10,000 new detention places.
For who? Does it say for who? Doesn't it say prison place? So that's like immigrants in it?
Increase criminal justice budget, 10,000 new detention places, tackle youth with training camps and centres.
Training camps.
Right? And then inquiry into social media harm, which I do agree with, right? But see, the rest of the stuff, that's taking you back to the 50s. Like, and it never worked. Look, so can you imagine saying to a wee guy...
punitiveness or something that's called, isn't it?
Can you...
It's like just pure...
10,000 new detention places, tackle youth crime with camps and centres, and I'm just like, is this what society wants, man? Like, what's
There'll be people that do.
No, that's it. I think this is what there's obviously a lot of clever people behind the scenes here that are working on these manifestos. So this is probably what the general public are asking for. Do you know what I mean? And I don't think they get to see how bad how you could come in and change the prison system and go. I mean, he's no said. He's just said increase it. See if there was somebody there like I love Jeremy Corbyn, right? And I know I'm going to get back. Fuck Jeremy Corbyn. Jeremy Corbyn was for the people, right? And he had no charisma, and that was his problem. Do you know what I mean? He had no charisma, and that, you might disagree, you might have your different politics, but social welfare, you need to start at a young age with kids. And the way that things are going with kids now and the things they're teaching in the school, I don't agree with a lot of stuff, right? But some of the stuff that should be going in there is people with lived experience. And I don't know why they don't have more people get in and go, look, see all that gang shit and all that? This is where
I volunteer for a organisation called Aid and Abet.
Have you heard
of them, right? So basically they're an offender-focused charity that help guys coming out of prison with things like GP appointments, housing appointments. So see, like, basically all the kind of things that maybe guys that are coming out that need sorted out.
Aye.
But I was saying this to Big Kev, man, that is kind of, he runs it and that, and he's
Big
in
Kev.
it.
I think I know Big Kev. I know.
Kev Neary, I was like, shit, man, couldn't remember. He's a brilliant big guy, man. And me and him were talking about this, and I was saying, Kev, it's almost as if somebody somewhere in decision making and policy making and some sort of governmental role doesn't want this, because what you're doing, it's like they want the wee guy that done the weekender, they don't want the guy that done the 20 stretch for some reason, and I don't know what that's about.
There's a boy jumping about there now that wrote a nice, good book, right? Wrote a cracking book. I don't think he was ever in a young team in his life, right?
What's his name? Oh, I know who you're talking. Is it the young team book?
Aye.
You're all reading it.
I mean, listen, the guy, if he's doing good work, he's doing good work. But they're jumping about schools, telling people about gangs. He's
never been in a gang fight.
He might have been in. I don't know. I honestly don't know. But and I think he's a nice guy. I've got absolutely nothing against him. I'm meaning, you need guys like Eddie Gorman.
He's guys that were in the trenches, mate. Like, not even just like I seen a guy get stabbed or I got stabbed or I done a weekender. It's like, mate, I wrecked half my life, mate. And all I ever wanted was to be the top dog and the guy and this and that, the kiddie. And then see when I got that sentence, I was like, when I got to the end of it, I was like, what the fuck have I done, man? Know what I mean? I'm lucky to be coming back out of this.
I think,
know what I mean?
You're lucky that you've got awareness, Chris, right? And you always had awareness, and I think that's what you were able to put in place. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of prisoners don't have that. They don't have a very good...
It was something that kind of worked on, but I think...
Oh, definitely. You've done a lot of work yourself.
Still got some...
Because you were pro-crime when I first met you. You were like pretty pro-crime, so pretty anti-authority and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? But I think that the work that you do is commendable. I think, like, you do a lot of stuff, but I just think that if you really want to change the structure of how psychology works in prison, we need to start looking elsewhere. We can't keep taking all this shit for America and all that and thinking that's going to work, mate. This trauma informed, and then you could genuinely ask a prison officer, what is your definition of trauma, and he'd be like,
I don't care, I'm just here to
I don't know, there's something
doors.
Happened. I thought trauma was something that happened to a soldier. That is like some of the answers you would get.
I think there's a lot of parallels between serving in the military and serving in prison, to be honest with you.
There is.
100%, mate. And that goes for staff and prisoners.
Definitely. I mean, the addiction rates and all that through soldiers
can PTSD out there, nothing, coming back and hitting the booze because they've seen, do you know what I mean?
So I'll go into the psychology of kind of mental health now, right? Because mental health is one of these things, again, we were talking about, people see it as a weakness, right? Especially in a prison setting. I can't imagine walking out into the hall and going like that, how you doing, boys? I'm very anxious today, you know, and I'm feeling a bit depressed, because I'll just like get on with it.
I think there's a way of kind of phrasing it, but in it.
Definitely. There's definitely a way of trying to phrase it, and I think I was always pretty good, and I was always pretty open, and I had some great conversations with some guys that were like really kind of problem prisoners, and a lot of them always came down to the fact that there was just, I think prison erodes your self-esteem. I think it erodes your self-esteem to the extent where you don't
identity,
believe.
I would say it eroded my identity.
It does.
I don't even. I'm not saying it didn't erode my self-esteem. I'm saying I didn't even. I wasn't even something that was kind of something that I kind of considered. I would say that. Definitely, I was getting like, because I was in that long, mate, and like I wasn't one of these guys that was always wanting to be kind of the wee magpie and about it all and I like to. I love to just have kind of these mad hours of silence and reflection and reading these, don't want to say crazy weird books because they weren't crazy or weird, they were just different.
Aye.
And just going, what does that mean to me? How and just like my brain was going off like a fruit machine when I was reading a lot of these books, man. I was just going, that's me, I went through that happened. When I was reading the desistance literature,
aye,
when I got to the end of my degree, it was a paper by Fergus McNeill. I don't know if you've heard of him.
I know
Fergus
of him.
Is sound man. Helped me an awful lot, and he came up to visit me and all that, and I read a paper he wrote, and him and Beth Weaver, and I was like, mate, you should read this. It's called, I'm embarrassed, I can't remember the name of that.
But if you were to type into Google, you'd be able to find
Google Scholar, mate. I think it's called something change. Is it? No, I don't want to say change lives. It's something desistance research and offender management. And basically, Beth Wheeler, Fergus McNeill, 2010. It will come up. And I was like, that's what basically turned me on to all this desistance literature, prisoner re-entry, and prison reform, prison rehabilitation. That was the first thing I ever read, and I couldn't put it down. I was like, that was as if they just opened my head up and went inside it, and it was almost like a blueprint to go straight. Aye.
So, do you think, like, see, obviously things like that, I mean, how do you, this is you're clever, right? Very intelligent, right? How do you...
Bit daft and all at times.
I know. But you're intelligent, right? How do you put that blueprint into somebody that's less intelligent and maybe
that,
no...
Do you know what? This is what I said, right? Somebody else asked me this, right? And I said, see, the adult males, I think they need... So see, remember I was saying to you about how they were saying we're going to bring desistance-led practice into... Right? That's what they need to do for the adult males, especially long terms, if this is what they're serious about. And if people don't desist for crime, then they don't desist. You helped them, you done something, you give them the tools, whatever, but trauma informed...
You're never going to clean it up.
Of course, mate, if crime's always got to be kicking about, right? But it's what they always say, if you can help one. But I think you could help more than one if you done this, and don't phrase it in an academic language. Don't talk as if you're giving a seminar at fucking Harvard or something, mate. Talk like the way me and you are talking, you know, and guys like you, or there's Sean, he done a life sentence there, Kris, he done 16 years, know what I mean? And it's like, mate, if I can do it, man, like, there's hope for most days, you know, that are like me. I don't mean like there's cases I would just never discuss, and there's no desistance, there's nothing you can say.
I know.
Do you know what I mean? But I'm talking about guys like myself that were out of the weekend with all the troops, they were parting their boozing, taking that, and the hangby bands, mum will get them, but there's hope for all, you know what I mean?
I totally agree with you, and I think, obviously, as you say, there is characters who, like, have good pals that are in prison that you just know are never going to change. Do you know what I mean? And it's the way they are, and it is what it is. But again, offer them it, like, because a lot of the time I've been proved wrong.
You never know.
Kris, I've been proved wrong. To be probably honest, I probably would have thought you'd have ended up in jail for a long time. But I wouldn't have thought when I first met you, I probably would have been like, he's not going to change, right? I don't know what you thought of me, right?
The way you think of you now, I just thought you were one of the guys that, mate, like, I don't know, just as we say, a sound cunt.
Aye, and I think that's probably the way I went through prison. I wasn't really, I didn't really, but you were probably a bit more involved in stuff, do you know what I mean? but I would have probably no then and I don't want to name his name, but
No, I know what you're talking about,
a boy that runs the Paradise Cafe in Celtic Park absolutely changed his life about. I would never have thought he'd have been able to. Amazing person. Eddie Gorman, I can speak about, do you know what I mean? Eddie would never have thought could have changed him.
So this is that you're kind of proving your own point there. Like, if there's hope for people, you never. Mate, I don't know how many times I've heard people saying that to me. And even when I went back to my scheme, like, that's not the same guy we know. I've grown up here, mate. Almost everything I've done in my life was in this fucking square mile area.
You grew up with Kris, right? The psychology I'm trying to get, because obviously, right, you grow up, this is where I see it, right? You grow up on this kind of, if you grow up and you're hanging about the streets, if you like, right? And it's, I don't know, it's all changed now, right? But you hung about the streets. There was gang stuff going on, right? No, like Glasgow. It wasn't like Glasgow and Cumbernauld. I don't know what it was like, canvas slang. There was bad things
bad
happening.
When I was growing up, mate.
Bad things, right? Things did happen and all that, and there was violence and stuff going about. There definitely was all that kind of stuff. It wasn't quite like Glasgow. Then the next step was either people kind of chose maybe to go to organised crime and stuff and start that kind of road.
Organised crime chooses you. You don't choose them. I think. It's like you couldn't walk up to Mr. X, guys at the 2A's no for jail, and say, I want to work for you. It doesn't work like that. They see something in you, I think, and you can start out selling drugs yourself, which could be classed as organised crime, but like you don't just walk up to them and say, here, can I work for you? It's like...
No, the people are very clever.
But see, violence, to me, violence, like what you're saying, like Glasgow, Cumbernauld, and this and that, violence doesn't stop at the fucking city limits and all that, man. It's like, this is everywhere, mate. You know what I mean? Like where I stay now, it's nowhere near, like, it's just nuisances now. When I was a kid, like 13, 14, 15, mate, it was mental. Like, I remember running into shops with baseball but supermarkets, mate, and just, you know what I mean? And see, if I saw somebody doing that now, I'd be like, you wee bastard. And I'm sitting going, that was you, like 30, 40 years, but 41, but you know what I mean?
That have changed. I think technology and stuff like that have changed the way crime and that works, and I think I'll probably argue with a wee bit here and say I'll probably argue a wee bit and just say that I think you can become that and involved in organised crime a bit easier now yourself because of technology and stuff. I think there's people behind the phone.
I think you can start. Totally. So it's shifting. It's changing.
Organised crime to me when we were growing up was like people who had clout, could get you hurt really bad. They had people running about them. There was selling drugs. Now you can be an organised crime and you can be a wee. You could get, look at him as set up Silk Road.
This was the point I was just going to make, right? So when we were growing up, you couldn't just walk up to the guy running Cumbernauld and say, here, big man, I want to work for you. That doesn't work like that. I know what you mean. But you can't do that in prison either. You can't walk up to Joe Bloggs, who's well known, Glasgow, and in the paper every fucking Saturday, and say, here, can I work for you? They choose you, but it's what you just said there. Now that there's all these shifts, technologies give people a platform, even like going on YouTube, right? I would never have got on any channels talking on a panel about youth crime and da. So YouTube is giving us a platform to do that. So it's all these shifts where technology is giving people, like, some wee guy in a posh gaff wherever can just go, no, what? I want to be fucking Tony Montana. That's been my dream, sitting watching fucking films all these days. So
put a picture up,
and he knows the ins and outs of how to fucking flip an ounce. Then before you know it, man, he's on or he's mad encro chats, and before you know it, man, he's fucking he's got everything he's earned took off him, like fuck.
No, I watched the drug awareness thing the other day, and I was fucking. I thought I knew what was happening, and I didn't. Like, honestly, like it was like emojis and stuff. Snapchat, and it was
that's
nuts.
For the algorithms,
it was nuts. And then what the thing that got me right was like, see if I was like 14, right, and I had walked up to the local drug dealer, right, and went, he's a bag of smack. He'd have kicked my balls, right, and went, fuck off. Like, you wouldn't, there was a kind of code, morals, whatever you want to call it. You wouldn't have sold drugs to a Wayne, right?
Brimming, mate.
No,
No doubt.
You're getting 14-year-olds that are getting crack buckets and all that, and you're going, where are you getting that? Like, do you know what I mean? The school toilets full of cocaine, full of vapes. Like, it's mad.
Like vaping cocaine in a vape, did you mean?
No, well, eating.
Right,
there's so much stuff. I mean, it's endless. Honestly, it's endless what they're doing now, right? And I don't, obviously, as I say, I think it'll probably be some wee geeky guy behind the screen that's doing it. Do you know what I mean? And just sending stuff and able to kind of hang in. And I think organised crime's probably getting hurt with that. Like the organised crime we know is probably getting hurt with that, because I don't think it's as lucrative now. Do you know what I mean? Like organised crime, obviously they're always will be, but I mean for like the way it was.
Just need to keep trying to find the new
I think you need to keep up with technology.
It's like kind of like to go on a tangent there. It's like, so the cartels in so it was obviously South America, but now it's delegated to Mexico. Mexico's the kind of focal point, the cartels there. And basically they're moving for trafficking drugs to trafficking people, because it's like 10 times more
you sell money. A person over and over again, can't you?
Aye, do you know what I mean?
Did you watch Sound of Freedom?
I did, aye.
I actually get through that.
So did I, mate. And I'm no embarrassed to say that. And mate, and do you know something? I think there's something happened to my waterworks after like my dad died. It was like I was physically incapable of greeting, right? But see, when it comes to seeing people doing things to kids, mate, it just fills me with this kind of, I don't want to say, like this kind of, I call it the Batman syndrome. It's like you think, it's the lesser of two evils. Like, it's like, how could anybody, and we're not hearing politicians not doing things like this, mate, like allegedly, right? How I would go to my way to destroy somebody like that if I had the power to do it, because children are innocent, mate. Do you know what I mean? And see, that was my kid.
You know that? I mean, I don't know.
I done a wee video about that, mate. Mate, that's online. You can read that. I read that lass's affidavit.
And I seen the way he fucking dragged her about. That to me, that's no a fight.
He needs dragged into a supermax and buried alive, mate.
I like the way 50 Cent's on him, man.
He slaughters him, didn't he, man? Want to take me short,
But even him, like, that's what I'm saying, like, this greeting into the camera, I'm sorry. And you're like, fuck it.
Mate.
I think
crocodile tears, man.
You've got, like, you're obviously looking at now, if you're going into the kind of global platform, right, and you're looking at things, we're fascinated by crime, right? Narcos, Boardwalk Empire, Gomorrah, right? People love it, right? Can't get enough of it. But we're talking about, these people are celebrated in a way, right?
The Robin Hood kind of thing, innit?
Like El Chapo, Pablo Escobar, people like that, celebrated. Pablo and all that, El Chapo. Let's be honest, mate, they were fucking trafficking
mass murderers, mate.
And trafficking Waynes and stuff.
I think Pablo Escobar was actually having sex with underage lasses, mate, to be honest with you. I read that,
I think this is what I'm saying, and it's like, you're celebrating these people, then you're demonising the wee guy on the street who's got an addiction that's robbing a shop, do you know what I mean? And you're going, fucking lock him away and throw away the key in it. I'm going, where?
Because it's easy to demonise the wee guy that's not got the power to get your whole family wiped out, mate. You can't demonise, like, obviously Pablo Escobar's dead, right? But obviously there'll be people in maybe your community, my community, or Mr. X's community who's got the power to kind of make your life a misery, mate. And if you're kind of going to speak out about something like that, mate, it could cause you a lot of problems, know what I mean? And maybe it's like, just no way to get involved, you know what I mean? But I'm not hearing shit like they're trafficking Waynes and...
I'd like to think this, I mean, obviously it will change, but there'll be Scottish, I would not like to think anybody in Scotland was doing that, but it's none of my business, but I don't know. But I would certainly say, like, the organised crime people I met would never ever do stuff like that, you know what I mean? And people that hang in. But it's just, I just don't get this, why we're so, like, fascinated with crime, and then, but we demonise it. I see it as a divide, right? And this is where I hate they divide Machiavelli, right? I always talk about him, right? He's, if you read The Prince, right?
I've read it.
And I know you've read it, right? And he's Art of War and all, right? If you read these books, it's a blueprint on how to divide society, right? And I can see it. I can see these tactics still getting used. Joseph Goebbels was the same. The propaganda machine he created, and you can still see it getting done, right?
Mate, this is to me, right? To me, this is the nature of ruling. This is the nature of government. It's like we were talking earlier about Russia. You can't rule a place like that without being ruthless, mate. This isn't like some eating schoolboys, and do you know what I mean, mate? This is, to me, this is government. This is high office. This is the biggest level of power you will ever see in your life, mate. And there's going to be some heavy duty. You think we seen skullduggery, mate?
I know.
Come on, man.
No, I mean? And I know, I understand that, right?
That's how they run it, mate. Know what I mean?
Understand that, and I think this is where it comes to me, DJ. Like I'm a kind of socialist. I'd love to see the working class getting more. I'd love to eradicate poverty. So you saying that's not? Do you think that's a fucking pipe dream?
Do I think eradicating poverty is a pipe dream? Aye. Because it would have happened ages ago. I think there's different levels of poverty. I think in our lifetime it's never going to happen. I'm not saying it's not a noble thing. I'm not slagging you for it or saying you're wrong. I'm saying realistically, mate, it's never going to happen. We live in like money talks, mate.
I was talking about it the other day, and I know we're away in a tangent here, but what would you even call? I mean, years ago you'd have socialism, communism, like democracy. Like, what the fuck are we even in? What would you call it?
Fucking hybrid, mate.
Do you know what I mean? It's such a hybrid. Do you know what I mean?
Or a hydra.
Aye.
Just get every heat on it, man. Do you know what I mean? And I think there's a lot of kind of there's things that they're trying to kind of. It's like I see these people, right, and this kind of does kind of get me a wee bit, right. People that are spouting these communist views, right? And they're sitting with iPhone 14 fucking Super Booster Pro Max gold plated fucking MacBooks, and I'm like,
aye.
Do you realise the contradiction, mate? The tungsten in your devices was mined in the Congo by a fucking 9-year-old boy who ended up becoming a fucking like, what do you call them? Like the mad kind of
child soldiers.
Child soldiers and all that. And see the amount of like tungsten. I don't know if you've heard of tungsten. It's an element that's used in almost every mobile phone, laptop on the planet. And it all they're like the Saudi Arabia, the tungsten. Mate, they're packing with it, and you've got all these big multinationals that get down there and they go, here, they're 3 pence a day. Whatever they're kind of. So poverty's relative, right? Because obviously, like, there's probably people that come here and maybe look at people in poverty here and think, you're better off than I was in the old country. Do you know what I mean? So it's like everywhere's got it, but that really annoys me, because I think, see, if communism takes over here, you're going to be the first one in the gulag or dying.
So, right,
because to me it's just a notion. I know communism's killed more people than cancer, probably, mate. See, it's never worked in any country it's been in.
Cuba.
Right, no, the health system in that, right? But see, if you look at China and Russia historically, mate, just it's see, if you want to look at it, right, we want this utopia, right? We want this utopia where everybody's getting on with it and equal, not, but see, it's not gonna work.
I get what you're saying, and I think if you look at it, like, so say you had a state where we had a really good social wealth. Look at Norway, right? Sweden. That's something like that I would like. I don't see. There is things. There's places.
I think
like
Sweden no been kind of gone to the right now, but
I think everywhere's kind of gone. Oh, listen, I think a lot of people have gone to the right.
Do you know? I think that's probably been because, but they've maybe went to the left that much. They're just like, this isn't working, or this is this, and or these policies are just. I don't know. I'm not an expert on it, mate.
It's so
do you know
complex.
what I mean?
Obviously, I've got a degree in politics, but it's like
Or maybe it's just nothing
I don't
works,
think-
mate. It's
aye,
just humans,
I don't-
man. We just fuck
I just think
everything up.
we need to heal as a society, right? That's the first thing. We need to stop fucking blowing each other up and all that. I think that's insanity, right? And I know people are airy fairy stuff and all that, right? But listen, these weapons that we're making are like insane, right? Like they're nuts. They could destroy the whole planet, right?
Even though these get no, I don't like I was right into reading up in virology, right? And I'm like, why do you need to go into a lab, a level fucking 5 biolab, whatever, and create a virus that could wipe out the whole planet with a teaspoon? What is that all about?
No, it's not like that. And it is just trying to have look at the weapons we've got, scare tactics, fear, same shit. Psychology, right?
If you
It's
come right down to the bottom.
If you take it again, I've said it before. If you kind of take it, it's like Russia will go. We're taking that. It's the same as the jail, like a crime. Like we're taking that bit. No, you're fucking not. It's the same.
It's flips. I always say organised crime and government are two sides of the same coin.
Aye, definitely.
One's just legal.
Aye, definitely. And I think you can even look at that by going to like the what was this? Maybe the time in America when they hanged the booze and that prohibition. You look at prohibition, right, and that just created.
It worked for organised crime, didn't it?
Created.
So what's the new prohibition? Drugs.
Aye, I agree. Aye. And it's quite sad because I think it's a hard one. But
sorry to interrupt you, Sean. So here, when I was finished my degree, there was one of the doing criminology. You can study all these different subtopics: cybercrime one week, narcos the next week, right? And all these states legalised cannabis and opening cannabis shops. So the Sinaloa cartel took a 40% drop in profit. So do you know what they done? Flooded America with fucking, what's that drug? Fentanyl. Flooded them with that, man, know what I mean?
I know, and I know.
Know what I mean? So, like, you could go and everybody, like, I legalise cannabis. I'm not saying don't, or I'm saying, like, you could do that and then something else pops up and it just pure ravages everything.
I know, I've spoken to people because I sometimes get the notice. I would certainly have
medicinal
the debate
properties
of
100%, mate.
I would certainly have the debate of legalising drugs, right? I think alcohol's the worst drug at them all. I think alcohol's by far the worst drug. So I would have the argument, and I've had arguments with people who would say don't legalise them, right? And I get they've got some really good points as well. But as you say, people at Sinaloa cartel, things like that, you would kill them overnight if you legalise drugs,
and
right?
Then what's going to happen after that?
But what somebody said was, it doesn't matter how much trauma and all that, like you still have people that would create stronger stuff and stuff that's going,
because it's your job.
Aye, do you know what I mean? You're going to create stronger stuff that people want, or
create
demand, do you know what I mean? But anyway, right, so we'll kind of go back to kind of looking at the prison, right? So look, I'm going to look at the kind of, as we've got like a wee bit left, right? But I was going to kind of look at bullying, right? And look at the kind of, because I know you weren't a big fan of that in the jail. I know, but it goes on quite a lot, Kris. And
I know.
What do you think the psychology is behind that? I think it's just that is actually just the pure school bully stuff where people have learned that.
I think sometimes you just get these types that enjoy maybe seeing somebody else kind of falling on their arse or being the butt of the joke or whatever. But sometimes I also think it's what we were talking about earlier, it's like it's not happening to me. So do you know what I mean?
Aye.
But you're kind of, I think you're taking your safety in your hands if you're kind of especially in kind of maybe longer term jails, like if you're bullying somebody, like somebody that's maybe weaker or a bit more frail.
I think it's just like a power dynamic thing.
Aye.
Because it's like I've seen bullying going on, and I've probably like been a bystander when things have been said, and sometimes the bully is pretty fucking, you're not going to say it to him because he's up for it, do you know what I mean? And most of the bullying that goes on probably goes on behind closed doors, and I think a lot of people don't realise that see the people that get demonised in papers and the digger and all that, they're the people that stop bullying within the hall. Do you know what I mean? They're the people that don't allow it to happen.
It's mad you're saying that. So the worst place I ever was for bullying, I think, was Pullman.
Aye, I'm the same.
So,
but there's no big. They're not mature enough yet, and there's no big. Big.
And I'll tell you a wee story. Right, I remember seeing there was this boy. Right, he could tell he was an addict, man. Like no front teeth, long hair, didn't shower, but totally brand new wee guy for Dumfries. And he was getting bullied off this boy, right? And I'm sitting in the telly room in East Wing, right? And that was like the kind of longer term hall when I was there, and that boy actually sat at my table, the boy with no teeth and that, right? And he's hunched down and all that. He walks like he's hunched down and all that. And there's two ways into the telly room, right? So you can come in that way or come in that way. But if you're coming in that way, like nobody sees you coming, sort of thing. You need to turn round and he's like, ah. He's had something that's up, man. He's just started whacking him with the heat, man, with this pool balls or something, right? And that's something like that, right? Heavy object anyway, and the boy that was bullying him like stood up to his head was all burst open, mate, like an egg, man. Got up to run after him, man, and we boys just scurried right out the room, and he's made to chase after him, just drapped. I was like off. Know what I mean? So see, bullying somebody, it can happen.
I've seen it reversing.
Aye, man.
You push somebody to their limits, and horrible to say, but some people obviously get pushed to their limits and they kill themselves in jail and stuff like that as well. It's horrible. And but you push somebody to their limits.
That, mate.
I know, and I think when you push somebody to their limits and obviously people die or whatever, and that's horrible. And then you push people to their limits, and people use violence that they wouldn't usually do. And again, we're talking about the psychology behind that is being somebody that you're no. Again, you're needing to be somebody that's fitting into an environment that's creating you.
Aye, because in prison
you would never run out.
You can't take them to court.
No.
Violence is taking them to court, kinda. That was like, I don't want to say our way. I mean,
no,
prisoners.
I know, and a lot some of the stuff. I mean, that you've seen in the jail, if it happened in the street, would have been straight to court. But I mean, it doesn't go anywhere because obviously
mopped up, innit?
It's not a thing, but. So just kind of like we're kind of coming up the last kind of 20 minutes. I've got a few quotes, right? I know you used to talk about things in quotes and kind of different people and stuff like that. So the first quote that I kind of like to just kind of ponder on a wee bit and just kind of like talk about it's for Dostoevsky, right? And it says the degree of civilization in a society can be judged by entering its prisons. So what do you think the kind of psychology behind that? Because obviously this was one of the best writers.
Aye, 100% Crime Punishment, my favourite book.
Aye.
Obviously he done that. Like, we're talking.
Aye.
I don't think then time in a Russian gulag like 200 years ago is kind of comparable to me then time in 21st century Scotland. But if I was to compare that, if I was to look through that lens of that quote to Scotland, then I'd say the country's ravaged by drugs. Aye.
So do you think it's still? I would say that still fits to this day. Right,
of course it does. Right, and it can apply anywhere. Do you know what I mean? I was just saying his experience was maybe different from mine. Do you know what I mean? But and also like present, like in the schemes. It's not a bad thing to be in jail for slashings and carrying weapons and selling drugs. It's not a bad thing. That's kind of like a
badge of honour,
right? But you go and try and get a job.
I know. When you go
that's where you start seeing all the barriers, and
you see most
that's
of the
when
guys.
It starts to come against you. Do you know what I mean? So it's like there's this kind of parallel world. I think it's called liminality, right? Have you heard it?
Aye.
It's like I'm no part of society, but I'm no part of the criminal world anymore. I'm no part of either one now. It's like I'm just walking in between the two of them. Do you know what I mean?
See, my partner said something to me, and it was like, it kind of stuck with me because I look at a lot of my pals, like, and some of my pals have died with like drug overdoses, some of them suicide, most of them went on to have families and live normal lives. Do you know what I mean? Some of the guys I know went on to organised crime, whatever. Do you know what I mean? There was all different ways all my pals went. because obviously I was only 19 when I went to prison, so I never, a lot of things changed and stuff. But I always remember my partner saying to me, Fiona's always quite good with things, and she puts things into perspective, and she says, see the people that peaked at 15 and 16, look at most of them now.
Peaked in what sense? Crime?
Peaked in the way that they were the top boy in school, and they were like the
Aye.
You peaked at 16, and then you were like spoke about for a couple of years, like, oh, he was nuts, and then if you look at them now, right, you're like, they're the kind of, I don't know, like maybe your drug addicts, your alcoholics, your
done 20 years in the jail.
People that you wouldn't, people that are just know that person anywhere. Like
100%.
They're not seen as a threat.
But that's to me is kind of indicative of like when you're younger, and it's not just everybody like that's been in jail and whatever. It's like when you're a teenager, but maybe especially now, like, what's teenager all about? It's rebellion and this, and trying to find your identity and your place in the world. But they're like, right. But then you start to find yourself, and it's like, I don't know, like, well, we all went through what we went through to get to where we are, and I guess like what you just said there, mate, that just kind of sounded a wee bit like myself, like running about and then done a couple of big sentences, but then like people going, he's changed.
Because even some of the guys I knew who were like serious hardened criminals, right? Took their own life, end up really bad drug addicts and stuff, and it's just trauma catching up with you. And I always try and say that to like young people, if I'm speaking to young people, and that I'm like, honestly, I can count in one hand the amount of successful drug dealers that are successful guys that are in crime. I can count in one hand the amount that don't have or are able to navigate their own like whatever their own system. Most of the guys I know who went through hard times are fucked. Do you know what I mean? Either with drugs or trauma or mental health, anything. Do you know what I mean? And it's just, so the next quote, right, is actually for Nelson Mandela, right, and it says, it is said that no one truly knows a nation until one has been inside its jails. I mean, it is pretty similar to Dostoevsky.
Probably read that book, didn't you? Because he done a fair bit of sentence,
done a fair time,
fair to stretch.
No, I know, I agree with you, probably. So here's your man, right, Foucault, right, the prison is the only place where power is manifested in its naked state, in its most excessive form, and where it is justified as a moral force. Well,
that's quite interesting, because prison's supposed to be about trying to reform, rehabilitate.
Well, the SPS logo, right, is SPS, transforming lives for the better.
Unlocking potential, transforming lives. Whose potential you're unlocking? That's just a soundbite, mate. It's what I said to John on 5-0. It's like, it's nonsense, mate. It's a slogan, catchy wee slogan, whereas don't get me started, mate, but you should read his book, mate, Buff of the Prison.
Well, the analysis says Foucault's quote explores the concept of power within the context of prisons. It suggests that prisons are microcosms of power dynamics where authority is wielded over individuals in extreme ways. It invites reflection on how power structures in prisons reflect broader societal power dynamics and ideologies. But I think,
because it's all about prison and power go hand in hand.
Anybody that's watching this and is interested in crime should watch the Stanford project.
Stanford Experiment.
It's amazing. It's mad. Do you know what I mean? How quickly things escalated in that.
And these were university students. They weren't They weren't the guys for the scheming ex-cons prison staff. These were students. So and this is what I keep telling people: crime isn't a criminal thing; it's a human thing. Like, I believe the power or the capability to hurt another human being is in every single being on this planet. But what gets you to that point, and what gets me to that point, or what gets Joe Blogs to that point is three completely different things, and you might go, oh, but I could never do it. And what always, because I used to ask prison staff or people who used to say that to me, I could never do it. And I used to go, what would you do if you came home one day, right, and somebody had a knife at your son's throat, your daughter's throat, or your wife's throat, and you had a gun in your pocket?
No. Oh, 19.
You wouldn't even think about it.
I know. And I think some of the prison officers, I mean, even some of the guys who I ended up lighting and all in Berlin, and they were up at the top end and all that, they were in there, and they admit the stuff they'd done was terrible. Like, they admit that they were going, and I mean, Johnny Steele says there was a governor called Slasher.
Aye, Slasher Gallagher.
Because he used to slash
I think he was
people.
Ex-Special Forces, was he, no?
Aye,
so it speaks for itself, know what I mean?
Aye, but imagine you having I mean, how can you have somebody that's slashing cons, right, and then but you're dishing out 5 and 6 year to people that are doing it in the street. I'm not saying.
That's exactly the kind of the
power dynamics is nuts.
Aye, because it's like you're. That's all to me. That's almost like got to play a team that's like 100 nothing up against me. It's not a level playing field, mate. You're in there. They've almost got an army behind them, mate. They just need to press a button and
the police. You know what I mean, you've got like I remember I was in Addiewell, and I remember somebody telling me a story. I can't remember what it was, but it was staff that I kind of liked in Addiewell, right? And they worked on reception. And they got a phone call that there was a wee guy kicking off on the Reliance bus, and the boy told us like they were all getting pumped up. Fucking, let's do him and all that. And then he says, "This is a fucking 19-year-old boy you're talking about here. Like, you don't even know why he's kicking off. And look at the stages; they're all pumped."
That's mad.
But then again, right? Why would they not get pumped? Because they've got to get pumped. They don't know what they're going into. This 19-year-old could be a fucking MMA fight. Do you know what I mean? Like, so if they don't go in pumped, and I'm not trying to stick up for the staff, right?
No, I know what you're saying.
This is where it's mental. It's
and
like
you could just get a mad. Well, I could give you a kind of wee thing where that I've got a pal, right, lifer, who they broke his arm in Addiewell coming off of the Lions bus, and then he was just getting sick of his screws. I think he asked for a new mattress, and the screw said something pure to him, and he went down and stabbed him in the lung.
Aye.
You know what I mean? So it's what you say, you don't know. That wee guy could be half his chum.
And you can get drove to that. This is the whole thing.
So the job is bringing, it's like this is almost like an example of a Stanford Experiment, innit? It's definitely. Like, do you know what, they're all feeding off each other. What's it called? There's a mad word for it in psychology, I can't remember what it's called. Contagion.
Aye.
It's like, you know what, man, we're all just, it starts half there, and before you know,
it's
just
king of mentality.
Aye, mate, do you know what I mean? And it's like, I think a lot of them could end up, it's like they become cons in shirts almost.
Aye, and it's the same, that they're going to feel the same feelings of trauma, guilt, shame probably when they go home. Like, some of them probably don't even want to be doing it. It'll be like one guy, the same as we were talking about, a con can change a whole. I'm pretty sure one staff member can come in and change a whole, do you know what I mean? Or change the thing.
Definitely.
But what I would, I mean, this is always a question that's really hard, and obviously nobody's ever really got the answer, and I always ask it, but how do you build trust between that? Because that is what's missing. You need trust. See, if any business in the world, I don't know any other organisation in the world, right? I don't know any that you could name that's got as much distrust as a prison system. And they try and build on that, right? So how can you build on something that
maybe the prison system has to rehabilitate itself?
Yes. Good answer.
Do you know what I mean?
Good answer. And
because I almost think we're the evil twin of the prison system, and I don't mean that like we're evil. What I mean is they're it's like when we're talking about all the things we've been talking about with the violence and this and that, right? I'm not saying all prison staff like that, because no in our generation, maybe back when it was the cages with Johnny Boy Steele, right? That was a different era, right?
The staff that I used to have,
right? But I think maybe the prison service needs to do some reflecting and reform and rehabilitation on themselves, but I do not ever see that happening.
I know.
Do you know what I mean?
So just look at last one we're going to look at, right? I've got two here, right? I'll pick, because you mentioned earlier, right? I'll go with Angela Davis's one, right? So prisons do not disappear. Social problems, they disappear. Human beings. What? Prisons do not disappear. Social problems, they disappear. Human beings.
So do you want me to, you asked me to interpret that?
You go first and then
I would say what she's basically saying is prison's built to try and solve crime, but when people go to jail, they're just coming out worse. Because I read a thing about restorative justice. I quite like restorative justice, to be honest with you, right?
I've got parts that I like.
And I read a quote. It was called, I can't remember the name of the paper, I still have it. It's called Changing the Paradigm. 2013 it came out, right? And the guy said, prison is a good way of making essentially good people who have done bad things even worse.
Gabber Matty puts it some great ways. I know. I mean, I've heard Gabber Matty saying it in some great ways. But so these are some interesting facts about prison psychology, right? And I'll just kind of read them out quickly before we kind of hang it right up, tie it up. So high rates of mental illness. Approximately 20-25% of prisoners worldwide have got mental illness, such as schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, and major depression. I would say more than that.
Double that.
I would double that. Impact of solitary and confinement can lead to anxiety, hallucinations, increased risk of suicide, staff mental health challenges, psychological effects of incarceration. You go into a hypervigilant state, anxiety, depression, aggression, due to the loss of autonomy. So suicide rates, massive in prison, impact of overcrowding. Right, so what we're talking about here is a system that's essentially broke. And I think we can see that by just looking at the kind of way that's built, right? But the whole psychology of incarcerating somebody and you're actually putting somebody into that hypervigilant state, right?
You're coming out hypervigilant. I'm like that, mate.
Totally. And you can... I think prison, you can go back into that hypervigilant. See, if I was to say to you outside the now, right? A certain somebody, right? I don't know, somebody that we both know, and I says to you, he says he's got to do you. You would go into that hypervigilant state and you'd be like, how am I going to deal with this? Did I deal with this first? Blah blah blah. The stuff that would go through your head, you would go straight back to that person. So it's there that the prison's built that into us. You know what I mean? And it's easily to push, very easy to push back in. But we've learned to live with it and we've learned to accept a lot. And I always talk about acceptance, right? Acceptance is a massive thing. You need to accept what happened and accept that it did happen and that's part of the whole thing. And you struggle with it. We all struggle with it. But I think we need to have a bit of hope that we can change the prison system. And I think there is good things going on. And this is the things that I think we need to see. Anything that's going on in the prison system that's working, that's changing. See, you get 20 people and you can change 5 of them. That's a fucking massive success, man. And I just heard that they'd stopped the prison to rehab thing, right? Now, I know there's I don't know, I'm not going to go into it, but I know there's reasons why, right? But it was working for some people, right? And then somebody might have went out and done something and fucked it, right?
Aye.
But that's going to happen with any.
So it's like kind of one bad apple and they end up throwing out the whole cart.
The whole, it didn't work. And you're like, but it worked with like fucking 5
He wasn't meant to be on it then.
I mean? It's like, bad choice. Let's go, let's make better choices. But I don't know, it's hard. But anyway, so as we finish up, Kris, it's been brilliant having you on, man. Honestly, like fucking, it's just back up at education again.
Aye, who'd have thought?
Been brilliant, but obviously you plug your channel.
Cheers.
Tinpail TV, some great, interesting stuff on there. Kris,
cheers.
Brilliant, analysing some good podcasts. But I'll give you the kind of finishing up, and I'll give you a wee message that you can kind of say for anybody that's out there with kind of mental health. It's maybe ex-prisoners, anybody that's sitting out there with addiction stuff. A wee message. How did you manage? How did you cope? And how did you change it, Kris?
I think that I just got to a point where I just had enough of being in prison. Like, having a son was really the nail in the head. But I would just say to MD, like, believe in yourself, man. If you want to, there's got to be something. It's what I say on my channel all the time, right? Especially when I'm talking to like the wee guys that jump about and all that, right? I'm like, there's going to come a point where you're going to be where I'm other now, if you're lucky. If you don't get killed, if you don't OD, if you don't get a lifer, you're going to go, do you know what, man? He was right. And I remember my gran used to say to me all the time, this is all going to come back to haunt you when you're older. And I used to say, no, it won't, because I'm just going to get worse. I didn't think I was getting worse. I thought I was going to get more advanced and and I just thought, who wants to be in a toxic hate factory where the only kind of conversation, that 90% of the conversation is about drugs and the other 10% is about maybe violence. Do you know what I mean? Who wants to live in that environment 24/7, 365 days a year for half your life?
So
think about it. And it's what you said, you're walking about hyper vigilant all the time. And I wasn't like pure violent in the jail, getting into all sorts of fights and a big enemies list and all that, but you still need to be on the ball. So who wants that for themselves? You know what I mean? So I'm just be saying to people, especially if they're carrying knives and you think it looks cool, it's no cool, mate. It's either going to get used on you or you're going to end up doing a sentence you might not see the end of. So
no, but brilliant and excellent wee message, Jen. But Kris, honestly, brilliant having you on, man. It's been great, brilliant conversation. Thank you. Cheers.